When the Second World War finally came to an end in 1945, hundreds of airfields right across Britain became obsolete, their runways no longer required. But car enthusiasts soon realised that their perimeter roads made ideal racing circuits, and a new breed of post-war tracks was born. There was Silverstone, Boreham, Snetterton and Castle Combe, but perhaps the most loved of all was Goodwood.
Sterling makes a brilliant start, followed by Shelby and another Aston Martin from 7th place on the grid.
I was taken there regularly as a young boy to marvel at the fabulous machinery and outstanding skills of the likes of Sterling Moss, Jim Clark, Graham Hill and the legendary Lister Jaguar driver Archie Scott Brown. Goodwood is perhaps best remembered for its series of tourist trophy sports car events. There were single-seater races as well, but the Sussex track never hosted a Grand Prix. Perhaps the most memorable race of all was the 1959 TT, where a fire in the pits heralded the retirement of Moss's Aston Martin. But Sterling then took over another Aston, won the race and secured the world's title for the British marque. But if that had been Sterling's finest day at Goodwood, April the 18th, 1962 was surely his worst.
When I go past the spot, which I found out now, I think, my God, I can see why I went off there. No, to tell you the truth, at that particular part, and I don't know what happened even now, I think I used to back off and go on it again. Now I'm braking.
Another future British star who came up through the junior formulae at Goodwood was Jackie Stewart.
Had great times at Goodwood. It was a place of great elegance, always has been. Great casualness, just a kind of place one people like to come to.
The man who opened the circuit in 1948 was the owner of the land and the nearby Goodwood house, Freddie March, the Duke of Richmond and Gordon, whose enthusiasm for the sport was soon passed on to his grandson.
My grandfather used to bring me down here and I used to meet all the drivers, and it was always fantastic. It was a highlight of my year.
But increasing demands for improved safety and ever-escalating costs became too much to bear. By midsummer 1966, the racing was over.
So when your grandfather closed the circuit, were you cross with him?
I was indeed, yes. Well, it sort of fizzled out. I couldn't really understand what had happened. Suddenly we weren't going anymore. But as soon as I came back down here to live, it was my first ambition, really.
And last weekend, his ambition was realised. The glorious days of Goodwood are back.
Your love, dear, why you do me this way? Like crying all night.
And central to the whole atmosphere of this Goodwood Revival meeting is the fact that everyone has been asked to dress in period clothing. Only pre-1966 cars have been allowed within the perimeter of the circuit. And indeed, this paddock looks exactly as it did when I was peering over the fence as a starry-eyed schoolboy. But the big difference this time is that I am going to be driving.
The main event was a one-hour tourist trophy celebration race for GT cars built between 1960 and 1964. £1 million Ferrari 250 GTOs were two a penny, and one of them would be driven by the famous son of a famous father.
A bit of a busman's holiday, this one. I'm having a great time. I'm driving a Ferrari 250 GT, and I'm also riding a Manx North.
But how's the Ferrari?
Dare I say, it's a bit of a beast to drive. It's not something I'm quite used to, but no downforce.
Two Ferraris and an Aston on the front row, and of course a Union Jack to start the race. The cars may be priceless, but the racing was still serious. Yet while Rob Walton got his Shelby Cobra all in a twist, the hay baling carried on just as it did 40 years ago. Into single file through the famous Woodcut chicane, thankfully now made of polystyrene rather than brick. Damon did his best but had to be happy with 9th, while the E-Type shared by Barry Williams and Nigel Corner took the spoils of victory.
I think Lord Mack's done a wonderful job. I think he's done everything right. It's so nice to see an estate which is obviously hereditary, having more than lions and tigers and elephants in it in just stately rooms.
I'm really loving it, I can tell you. I just wish that I was younger. I wish I was going a bit faster, but I'm still enjoying it.
The control tower of yesteryear has had a lick of new paint. 1 million tonnes of soil have been moved and 26,000 trees have been planted to help contain the noise and bring Formula One back to Goodwood. And everyone seemed happy. The pre-66 Formula One boys also had their moments of drama, with former Indianapolis 500 winner Danny Sullivan taking avoidance action on the grass and then scything back through the field to victory despite the odd worrying moment or two. They don't write better scripts, even in Hollywood.
If it hadn't closed, you wouldn't see like it is today. I mean, it would have been modified and changed and probably half a dozen more chicanes in it.
This is the only championship track in the world, I think, to still be in its original form. So that is that's where we start. So everything we do here will be very purist, very historic, with no intention of having any modern racing at all. And at the moment, we'll just do this one meeting a year.
At the very first meeting, 19-year-old Sterling Moss was the winner of the Formula 3 race for the tiny 500cc motorcycle-engined cars that would, for the next 10 years, be the training ground for the stars of the future. But lesson number 1 is always to finish first. First, you have to finish.
It's certainly captured within the people that right sort of atmosphere and appreciation. It's good. It's good for motorsport.
And my car? A Lister Jaguar, of course.
A most emotional state to ever start a race in. I've never felt quite like this.
A 15-lap race for production sports cars from the 50s, and my 1958 Lister had just been restored in its original Écurie Belge team colours.
I was really just struggling to keep this car on the road. Just need to live for this very tricky Boardwater King at over 100 miles an hour. My nerves are on edge. I cannot concentrate properly, as a racing driver should, in these just euphoric conditions. Oh.
It was as if I was in a time warp. I was there driving the car, but I was also there sitting in the packed stands.
Sound of this chicane, which I watched so many of my heroes coming through, and now I am doing it. Glorious Goodwood. Woo!
It was the most emotional race of my life.
I tell you, the tears are genuine.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Tiffany Dell tests the new Land Rover Discovery. Top Gear's back this Thursday, 8:30 on BBC Two, and there'll be another chance to see that episode next Sunday on BBC One at 10:30.